Nintendo has been screwing over Fire Emblem fans since the very beginning.
Nintendo Power would reference the series all the way back in '96, teasing us with this incredible artwork, marveling at the relationship creation, permanent deaths, breakable weapons, and depth of play, then conclude by saying, however, there are no plans for a North American release.
So, you see, they were flipping the bird to the series even back then. But you're here for Smash, right? You got it. It's my stance that Nintendo needs more Fire Emblem representation in Smash, if only to give a small shred of hope to this insultingly underrepresented franchise. But to get a deeper understanding, let's quickly examine Fire Emblem's dark Smash Brothers history.
As a teenager in the early aughts, I was enthralled to see this surprise inclusion of Marth and Roy in what seemed, at the time, like a bloated Melee roster. I was like, cool! Finally! Another sword fighter besides Link!
And as we all know, sword fighters struggle to find, well, any representation in Smash games today. They are all but ignored. But we'll come back to that. Oh, believe me, we will.
The first thing that sucked was that they're clones of each other. You know, Pichu, it's a clone too, but that disgrace was intentionally included as a joke character. Then again, Nintendo must have thought that these Fire Emblem doohickey punks were also jokes. How can I be so sure? Marth and Roy don't even have their own stage.
They're the only ones with this distinction.
Nope, they're just sitting there in Link's shadow, even having to borrow his temple stage when you fight and unlock them. Pichu can at least claim Poke Floats as his stage. But not Fire Emblem. They're given one measly piece of music as well. Guess what it's called? Fire Emblem.
Bloody brilliant. It's a masterclass in creativity.
Want to know something even stupider? Roy was given the Royal Shaft! He doesn't appear at all in Classic Mode, which even the Smash Wiki can explain, and despite being a clone, he's so much worse on the competitive tier list compared to Marth. And no wonder when he has a dash attack that literally does nothing!
What was Nintendo's problem? They set Fire Emblem up to fail right from the start!
They even included the developer HAL Laboratory logo on Roy's Binding Blade sword, in which laboratory is spelled wrong. Laboratory.
Are you starting to see just how disparagingly Nintendo treats this flawless universe? Let's move into Brawl territory.
Brawl, at first glance, seems to favor Fire Emblem a bit more. After all, there's Ike, who was the protagonist from a recently North American released Fire Emblem game on the GameCube. He even features prominently in the Subspace story mode. That's encouraging, right? So now, we've got Marth, Ike, and... Wait, where's Roy?
He ain't there. He was cut!
Yeah, instead of fixing his flaws, Nintendo just threw him out like trash on a freeway, hoping he'd get run over or stomped to death by God knows what. So, really, there wasn't any additions. We still have the 2 Fire Emblem representatives, just one who's more manly and macho compared to Roy.
Prepare yourself.
Quit whining. They got their own stage, didn't they?
Some fans would say.
Yep, I can't deny it's there, and good lord, what a desolate eyesore of banality it is. There are crayon drawings done by 3rd graders with more personality. Even its name is generic, literally stating the very thing that's happening. Castle Siege.
Does brand recognition mean nothing?
You don't see any soldiers on the battlefield. There's no catapults or archers. Oh, don't even hope for an army. But there's tons of peaceful forest and countryside. The bridge is clear and the moat is so peaceful. I'm amazed there aren't locals fishing amidst this glorious tranquility. Without the armies, just what is causing these flaming death balls to fly through the sky then? You don't see any references to other Fire Emblem heroes or characters, and they had lots to choose from. I mean, the series was 18 years old by this point. Closest we get to people are these tormented marble statues that seem to be holding up thousands of pounds of granite with their crotch. Followed by a random fire pit area that looks cool but makes no sense. It's like the developers were told the game was Fire Emblem, had no idea what it was, and thought, okay, I guess we'll throw a fire stage in part of it. Even in Brawl's Sonic stage, you can find Tails and Knuckles and even Silver running through loop-de-loops in the background, fully rendered, but nope, Fire Emblem just isn't important enough. I guess I looked it up, and I'm not exaggerating. This isn't based on any Fire Emblem game. It's just as cliche as Ike's moves. For being a brand new character, he still has a charge-up neutral special, a vertical upward slash recovery, and a counterattack. Only one of his specials is unique.
Where's my Fire Emblem love? Fans needed and deserved more. Enter Smash 4 for the Wii U. At first glance, I'll admit, this looked promising for us patient, unsupported Fire Emblem fans. All we've ever wanted was a small voice. It's never been too much to ask.
In the base game, the Fire Emblem roster is finally given some recognition. We get our staples, Marth and Ike, as well as Lucina, Marth's daughter, and Robin, who comes equipped with elemental grimoire books that allow him to roast and electrocute their enemies while riding the wind to safety and stealing people's life force. What could be better than this?
Oh, sweet Jesus Murphy, where do I start?
First of all, Lucina is just a clone. But not a semi-clone like Roy, who had his own weight, air, and dash speeds, etc. compared to Marth. I'm talking literally a clone of her father. I know she's Marth's daughter, but that doesn't make her an identical twin. Yeah, her sword doesn't have a tipper. There's no sweet spot.
Nintendo has never had a sweet spot for this series! Robin's power gets used up if you use special moves too much. Ike is a slow-ass tub of lard. And Marth, he stayed the same for 15 years! But Roy's back! Yeah, you know what, he is. And if I'm Nintendo, I'm saying to you, give me your money! Because that's the only way he's back. Let's turn him into a DLC money bag pit.
Well, you failed to realize that Chrom also made it into Smash 4.
Same damn thing. Show me the cash.
Yep, our tiny Fire Emblem community is so insignificant that we're just barely good enough to get on Nintendo's DLC content gravy train.
DLC content!
It's an insult that we have to pay extra coin just to give these royal warriors a little bit of representation. Even if you count all of these characters together, that's only 6 out of 58 characters.
Barely over 10%. Only 1 out of every 10 fighters is from this legendary strategy RPG franchise. This hurts so much. This is a bigger tragedy than when that character from that game no one's ever heard of meets her end. To put this into perspective, the Mario universe includes 8 fighters. Not many know or even care about Mario. That is an unquestionably niche, inferior franchise. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, I'm so unfamiliar. And yet, that Mario franchise gets more representation than Fire Emblem. But would you believe that Fire Emblem gets treated even worse? Look, just look at this.
I suppose I'll get my chance another day.
They intentionally left Chrom out. And why is that? Because Nintendo hates Fire Emblem!
They tease him here, and they tease him in Robin's final smash when he heroically appears to slaughter foes before being vanquished into purgatory for the entire rest of the game! Going back to the music one more time, sure, they added a few more songs, but instead of giving each character their own victory flourish that represents the rich history of Fire Emblem, 7 of the franchise characters shared the same theme at one point. It's a disgrace! Bowser gets a rock version of Mario's victory jingle. Meta Knight gets a kick-ass version of Kirby's. Dark Samus and Ridley get some distorted, dark energy guitar music. But all those Fire Emblem rejects, just lump them together. Nobody cares about them. It wasn't until Ultimate that Nintendo finally made what's pretty much the only concession ever to Fire Emblem fans, giving updated victory themes to more modern entry characters like Corrin, Robin, and Byleth.
But Ultimate is where Nintendo really doubled down on their Fire Emblem hate. Get ready for this.
First off, Chrom is unceremoniously shoved into Ultimate with no fanfare. They couldn't care less that he existed. Doesn't even get his own anime-style cutscene. Hell, not even a clever tagline. Just Chrom joins the battle.
It was laid out perfectly for them.
I suppose I'll get my chance another day.
Chrom finally gets his chance. Was that so hard to do?
Nintendo's indifference is especially evident in how they just regurgitate all the previous fighters' movesets. He copies Roy's basic sword attacks and weight, uses a modified version of Ike's Aether up special, and Lucina's equal damage multiplier across his sword. Nothing besides his unique and manlier voice compared to Marth is worth noting.
This is it! I won't lose!
Come on! Come at me!
They even gave him the same damn final smash as almost every other Fire Emblem character. It's just critical hit insanity and nothing else. Unless you're Ike or Corrin, who miraculously got something different. It's like, why isn't Fire Emblem good enough for Nintendo? If we want to talk more about Fire Emblem snubs, consider that Ike was given a second costume that referenced his more recent entry, Radiant Dawn. This new costume even includes different voice inflections and victory quotes.
Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. I submit to no one. I must move forward. Get no sympathy from me. I fight for my friends.
So this naturally means that, yes, they should have made another Ike slot. The Radiant Dawn version should be its whole own thing with its own moves. Marth too! Put the Fire Emblem Engage version of him in there, because there's not enough, goddammit! Get rid of someone who no one would miss. Like Cloud! Get him out of there!
Who the hell what the hell is a Cloud? No one knows who this is!
That's not even a good character name! Clouds are harmless puffballs up in the sky! You'd be better off fighting against a Lakitu Cloud!
Regardless, if you were starving for more Fire Emblem characters, like I was, you had to be prepared to throw money at Nintendo again!
Nintendo introduced 2 rounds of DLC packs, and they must have been laughing their asses off when they ended the first DLC rollout with this trailer.
You must join Smash.
Huh?
Join Smash Brothers already!
Oh, finally! It's been 4 years since any new Fire Emblem characters were put in. Oh, Violet's going to kick so much ass! What? Are they seriously kicking the series when it's down?
How is this?
Ah, I get it. They're going to be bringing in the other 3 Houses heroes. Oh, at last, we'll get more Fire Emblem. This is disgraceful. I was sure that 4 new Fire Emblem characters were going to be added in this moment. That's not too much to ask. I just wanted 4.
These are legendary weapons right here, and Byleth already has his. It's the sword of the friggin' creator. That's not nothing. But instead of putting Claude, Edelgard, and Dimitri in as full-fledged warriors with their own unique styles, they instead just smother Byleth and his chesty female clone with all of their best moves. But the House's warriors wield them with so much more style and class. Sure, we have a proper series stage with cameos finally, whoopity friggin' do. Claude and the gang are also just cameos.
Are you starting to see my point of view now? Smash Brothers needs more of these Fire Emblem characters. It's the only way to make Smash great again.
The other fighters can't compare to them.
How manly and tough does anyone feel puffing up like a balloon?
Does plucking increasingly happier vegetables strike fear into your foes? Weapons you use include kids' toys like party poppers and yo-yos. It's friggin' embarrassing. Some combatants just hide in a goddamn box when the world is on fire. And no one wants to be Pac-Man. Jesus, he's even older than me. And the ones who are actually tough-looking are just a bunch of Neanderthals who fight with their fists.
Who ordered in all of these shirtless, or next to shirtless, macho men?
Stomping around, grunting with low baritone voices,
Talk is cheap.
doing cocky poses, oozing out their excess testosterone from every possible gland and orifice, just to make nerds like me feel inadequate? It's like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson directed this crap.
Win!
They're all the same punching and kicking and taunting stereotypes.
Come on. Yeah! Get serious.
There's no variety. I can't take this anymore.
Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?
No. No, Terry. I am not okay. Because you, and so many others that Nintendo has added to this cast, lack all of the elegance and class that the Fire Emblem fighters possess. They are majestical. Just look at how many different shades of blue eyes and blue hair they have. They are so unique and inspiring.
So, shove them all in there. And light the fire!
Fire Emblem, it's the only thing that can revive Smash from its dark state.
Speaking of light and dark, World of Light was just an overcomplicated mess of assembling teams of spirits and skill trees. You travel around a vast landscape bits at a time, encountering enemies and challenging them, which would have fit into the Fire Emblem way.
Not many know this, but that's what World of Light was originally supposed to be.
Each Fire Emblem character was going to command a subservient set of Nintendo fighters and guide them around this map against other Fire Emblem commanders, like in the core games. That's why there's so many other fighters who aren't Fire Emblem. Marth would lead Mario, Luigi, Peach, and others around the map, but it would have been more grid form, like in Three Houses. Then you'd eventually meet up against another commander and his or her army, which would have been some Pokemon and an anthropomorphic army of characters. And you'd engage in an amazing Smash Strategy Brothers battle. All those skill trees that supplied buffs and skills, those were supposed to be equipment and item configuration screens, where you could customize each of your fighters with the proper Fire Emblem weapons. But Sakurai and his lazy ass just kiboshed it because he knew the game had to meet the release date while the Switch was selling like hotcakes. I could understand Nintendo including all of these extra characters from different franchises if they would have stuck to this setup. Fire Emblem characters need armies, after all. And all the factions are there. You've got the aforementioned ancient Nintendo Old Guard and the Creature Army. You've got the Dark Army that both factions oppose with many evil characters. It was ready to go! Instead, all we got was 8 Fire Emblem fighters, a single new stage,
That you had to pay extra for, don't forget.
and the sad reality that now, with the roster up to 89 official fighters, Fire Emblem doesn't even count for 10% of the cast anymore.
Not even 1 out of 10 fighters in Ultimate are from the Fire Emblem franchise. What atrocities did we as fans commit to deserve this lack of franchise representation?
We can barely, just barely, have an 8-player Smash that has all the Fire Emblem representatives. And look at this fight. Does this look like an actual war, like you see in the core Fire Emblem series? Let's compare. The Smash version looks and sounds more like a bunch of brothers play fighting each other. Fire Emblem often has dozens of enemies across square miles of territory, but apparently just 8 is the most we can get. What happens when we have 12-player Smashes on the Switch 2? Or even 24-player Smashes if it follows in the footsteps of the next Mario Kart?
There won't be enough. But we can fix this.
Let's examine one game, just one Fire Emblem game, and see who might be able to join the ranks. Lightweight magic user? Well, you got Lysithea for that, don't we, with those death spikes? We can replace Zelda with her, and we'll mix in some meteor spells from Dorothea too to replace this relic. We need more females after all, including Rhea's ultimate form, the Enlightened One. She's absolutely badass and can easily replace Ridley. Instead of me, Brawler, get Raphael in there. And Dedue, yeah, he can take out Donkey Kong, that'll work. Well, we need some more Thoron users, so you can put Yuritsa in the lineup. Mario, he isn't even recognizable, so scratch him off. But of course, we need some archers like Leone and Ash. They can replace those cloned juvenile Link versions. And we gotta throw this Pegasus Knight in as a character. And the shopkeeper too. And we'll top it off with this gatekeeper dude. He at least has the fighting spirit.
I've got it covered. I'll defend it to my last.
Oh wait, and this cat! Yes! There's nothing else like it in Smash. You cannot deny that. There, my proposed outline is taking form, and it looks bloody fantastic.
Take a look at that roster now. It's brilliant. Exaggeration? Not in the least. We need as many as we can get, because Nintendo is dead set on making sure that Fire Emblem does not succeed in Smash.
Look at the current version of the Ultimate tier list. See how many Fire Emblem fighters are in the top ranks?
Yeah, not a 1. Of course not.
We've got rectangular rejects, demolition experts forced out of retirement, girls with 20 feet extendable punching gloves, 2D sprites from half a century ago, and a bunch of barbaric yet cuddly animals. But no elegant, refined Fire Emblem people. Not a 1. The highest ranking we get is Roy at 15. I'm happy he's got some respect after how much of a whipping boy he was before, and it sounds like he's turned into a man since Melee. But only 15th? He's still barely ahead of this spiky-haired freak.
Seriously, who the hell is that? I'd ask you to tell me in the comments, but I'm sure you're just as damn confused as I am. Cloud, what is that?
I know Nintendo likes to include obscure, lesser-known characters, but this is taking it too far. The only other one in a decent spot is Corrin at 23rd.
2 fighters made it into the A tier or higher. What a surprise.
It gets worse quickly from there. Lucina's next at 38th, followed by Byleth at 50th, Chrom at 57th, Robin at 67th, Marth all the way down at 71st, before bottoming out with Ike at 74th. That's almost as bad as Little Mac, whose recovery should continue to be mocked for all eternity.
Let's go.
Let's go back to Marth for a second. 71st.
Remember his Melee ranking? Yeah, Marth was number 2. He followed this up with a solid 5th place showing in Brawl and 11th in Smash 4. He dropped 60 places! It's literally the biggest drop in the history of all Smash, given to the first official Fire Emblem character and fan favorite. If that, and all the other evidence I've supplied, does not prove to you that Nintendo hates Fire Emblem, well then I just don't know what to tell you.
Not my best! My battle ends here!
You know, I'm not just one-sided. I'm not just advocating for Fire Emblem here. Take another glance at that top row. How many sword fighters do you see? Just 1. Well, 2 technically, Pyra and Mithra, but they comprise 1 character. It's the other elephant in the room. Which Nintendo will likely add into the roster before they put any more Fire Emblem characters into it. But even setting Fire Emblem aside, there simply hasn't been enough swordplay in Smash. It's never been enough. We only had 1 in the original game, Link had to carry the mantle all by himself. And like Fire Emblem, they have been neglected forever.
Literally, all we have are Link, Young Link, Toon Link, that embarrassing Mii sword fighter, Sora, Marth, Lucina, Roy, Chrom, Ike, Robin, Pyra, Mithra, whoever the hell this is, Shulk, Corrin, Hero, some other unknown emo soldier with awful hair, Meta Knight, Ike, and Byleth, who I'm tempted not to count, since he just gets burdened with 3 other weapons at once, so he barely uses his sword anyway. And don't give me this Greninja Water Kunai and Ganondorf Smash Attack excuse. Those don't count. Nah, Steve either. It's mostly pickaxes, fishing rods, hatchets, and fire pits. In total, that's only 21. 21 out of 89 fighters!
That is less than a quarter of Smash fighters who make use of this brilliant, elegant weapon that doesn't get the recognition it deserves! Just like the Fire Emblem franchise. What is your deal, Nintendo? Do swords wreck your family-friendly image too much? Huh?
You'll die! Die! Die!
Snake should have a sword. Gray Fox does.
Like old times, Snake.
Snake should be cool like him. Jigglypuff might actually stand a chance with a sword. Little Mac needs a sword because he sucks so bad. Olimar's technically less than an inch tall, but we should give him a 6-foot blade too. We need more shining steel weapons to lend some honor and dignity to this crap fest. Nowadays, it's all energy blasts, elemental spewing, and a bunch of sweaty, steroid-infused armpit men. Please, please, someone save us from this putrid filth that Smash is becoming.
To that point, and all the other points I've made, I have drawn up this handy petition and I'm sending it out to all the Smash fans and Fire Emblem fans in hopes that you will sign it. And I am not making any ridiculous demands either. The petition simply states that Smash Bros. For Switch 2 needs to include 26 more Fire Emblem characters, with 20 of those in the base game, in addition to 6 new Fire Emblem stages. I'm also requesting a Fire Emblem-focused story mode and a very reasonable 50% of the roster equipped with swords. I don't think that that's too much to ask. But I live in the middle of friggin' nowhere, so in lieu of actually signing this, please put your call to action down in the comments. We need to save Fire Emblem, or its growth will continue to slow, bit by bit, until eventually we're grasping at straws, with less than a dozen Fire Emblem characters to play as. And is that a world worth living in? No, it isn't. So gamers, please, I implore you, join me in shouting this magnificent theme out to the world. And while you're at it, shout this out too. April Fools! And 15 of them use swords! And almost half of them are from Fire Emblem! All from a genre that's about as far away as you can get from the twitchy, platforming, high-intensity, pulse-pounding action that Smash is known for!